Property development is a super attractive strategy. Many people want to get involved in it, but often we think it needs huge amounts of money. But as property development for a beginner, starting with no money, is that even possible? Well, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end because I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Hey, if you're watching my videos for the first time, my name is Saj Hussain, and on this channel I share with you my 15 years of property investing experience to ultimately help you get further faster in your own property investing journey. When it comes to property development, people think about this as maybe buying houses, adding some value and flipping it on for a quick profit, or it may be that they're taking a building and repurposing it for some other use, or maybe building a tower apartment block out of the ground brand new. Well, my view of property development is, when I talk about property development, is really creating new homes that don't exist right now. So for instance, that could be a tower block out the ground, it could be repurposing, say, an old derelict office building and turning it into beautiful new apartments. All of this is creating new homes, and this is what I talk about when I talk about property development. Now, if you were thinking about property development as getting fixer-uppers, doing them up and selling them on for a quick profit, then you need to be watching this video up here, which will link up here for you. But if you're interested in getting into property development with no money, then this video is definitely for you. Many people, when they think about property development in this context, is what they see is maybe go and look at a site. It might have an old building on it, it's got a big parcel of land with it, and they're thinking somebody's going to be purchasing that, they're going to demolishing it, building something new on there, selling that for a profit. And this is sometimes what we think about when we talk about property development. And the traditional way that happens is somebody goes and purchases that site, then they go and apply for planning permission to get the relevant approvals to be able to build whatever they want to build on it, and that can sometimes take a few weeks to many months to be able to get that. And then they clear the site, they build what they're going to build, they sell it and make a profit. Now, this is the most common way that this is done. However, there is a smarter way to do this, and I want to share that smarter way with you. But before we do that, let me break down the numbers and just explain how property development works. So let's say we're looking at this parcel of land here, it's got a little building on there, the seller wants £250,000. It's been up for sale for a little while and no one's really interested in it. However, it may be possible to build, say, 8 terrace houses there, 2-bedroom ones each, fairly modest size, and let's say they're worth about £250,000. That means once you build and sell all of those, that will bring in £2 million. And the owner wants £250,000 to purchase in the first place. What's the thing stopping anybody being able to go in straight away and do that? It's planning permission. It's having the relevant approvals to be able to go and clear a site and build something else there in the first place. This is where the most skill comes in. And at this stage, it doesn't require vast amounts of money. You don't need bags and bags of cash around you to understand the planning approval stage, getting the relevant approvals. Most of the money involved is to be able to purchase a site in the first place, and then the money to be able to build something new. Not so much money is involved in the stage where you're adding the true value in that building, which is all really a paper exercise. Remember, at this stage, no one's done any work. No one's knocked anything down, no one's built anything. It's all the work that the architect is doing and the vision that you have in what's possible there. The way most property developers work, they look at making a profit margin of between 25 and 30% of the overall value. So this particular site, a £2 million value, they want to be making about £500,000 profit at least, so 25%. That's typically how this works. So when we look at these numbers again, when we look at if it's possible to sell the building for all 8 houses for £2 million, and it will cost, say, let's say it's £125,000 to build each one out, we're just using some arbitrary numbers here, that means you're spending £1 million to develop that particular site, clear it, build out those 8 houses. So that would mean from the £2 million that you receive from selling the houses, £1 million of that would have been spent to actually build them. That still leaves £1 million behind. Now you need to pay £250,000 to the seller to buy the site, and there's £750,000 left over. Profit, hey? Well, not quite. There's other costs and things that you need to think about, but that's generally how developers tend to look at the numbers. However, I believe the smarter way to do this is by using your skill as the visionary that can see what's possible and go in and get the relevant approvals and then just cashing out at that stage. So as a new beginner, someone starting out in property development, you may not necessarily have the skill to find the contractors to build out these huge projects and manage these sites, to raise the funding that you need, could be millions of pounds sometimes to build these projects. However, you can use your skill, knowledge, understanding people around you, as long as you skill yourself up and understand how this works, to be able to get what I believe is the most highest return on value skill that you can have, which is getting the approvals, and it's all a paper exercise. Let's now look at the smart scenario in terms of how you could approach this to make money when you're a beginner. The seller wants £250,000 for this particular site. You approach a seller and say, hey Mr. Seller, I can see you've got this property up for sale, you've had it up for sale a little while, it seems you've got very little interest in it. I'd be interested in purchasing this from you, but I just need a little bit of time. I need say 1.5 to 2 years, and the seller gasps, so what on earth are you talking about? However, what I'm prepared to do is pay you significantly more. In fact, I'll pay you £100,000 more than you want. Seller, oh my God, that sounds amazing. So you just need 2 years from me, and within those 2 years, you'll purchase this building and you'll pay me £100,000 more. Now, I've exaggerated a little bit, but in essence, that's essentially what you're trying to achieve. What you do, you offer the seller more money than they're looking for right now, but in exchange for that, you're looking for some time to be able to purchase that property. So what that means is you're not putting any money down to be able to buy the property, you don't own it, but simply you've got the right to be able to purchase it in 2 years. Then you use the skill and the knowledge that you've built and acquired to be able to get the relevant planning approval, or in this case, to be able to build out 8 houses there. Because once you've done that, remember, most developers work on a 25% profit margin. So that means the site now is worth £500,000 with planning permission. And the reason for that is because once a developer builds it and sells it for 2 million, they'll take out their £500,000 profit, they'll take out £1 million that they've spent on developing it. That means they're left with £500,000 that they're willing to pay to purchase the site in the first place. And you've got a right to buy for £350,000. That means there's a gap of £150,000 in the middle for you. So essentially the way this would work is that once you've got that approval, rather than you purchasing the property, you can sell your right to buy to somebody else, or allow somebody else effectively to complete on that transaction. But now they're paying you £500,000, you're paying the seller they're £250,000, and you're making £150,000 gap in the middle. That's a mistake, because in fact you're paying £350,000 to the seller. The original price was £250,000, so you end up with your £150,000 in the middle. Now you may have had some costs. You've got architects fees, planning consultants, maybe surveys, various other things. Some of these people you might have cut into the transaction as well. But let's say you've got 50 grand of cost. You now have made £100,000 from a property you don't own by just using the relevant skills to be able to get the right planning approval in place. What I've given you is a simplistic overview of how this strategy works. Now there's a lot more detail to that, and I understand that it's not quite that simplistic, but the idea is that you understand the principle of how you can make money out of a transaction as somebody who's quite new, without putting a huge amount of money in and without having all the experience and knowledge and bags of cash to be able to get started. And if you want to learn more about this strategy, just reach out and message us, because we'll be running some training programs on this very soon. And if you want to watch another video on me explaining this in a little bit more detail, then click on this one over here. But just before you do that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you click on my face just down here. Go on, give it a little tickle just down here, and I'll see you on this video just up here.